Hello and welcome to HD Movie Talk. I am your host, one of them, Dean's Beans, and the other host, the American one, the older
Handsome one.
I nearly said handsome, and I'm not sure why, but the older
Because you
one
know it's
and
true.
the more successful one, Fluffy Duffy. Hello, Harlan.
Hello, Dean.
Nice one.
Fuck. I mean, oh, I mean,
This is all staying in. That was Golden.
I said a bad word.
I'm going to send this to your mum.
No.
Get her to listen. Anyway, this has gone off the rails so quickly. I'm tempted to start again, but I won't. Welcome to episode 9 of The Silver Lining.
Wow, is it really?
Yeah, I call this one The Silver Nining, where every 3 weeks we talk about a bad movie, and we talk about the good, we talk about the bad, and then we improve it. And this week we're talking
Silver
about
Nining.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Silver Nining.
This movie probably has I reckon this
The
movie.
Silver Nining?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Did you not hear anything I said after that? I was telling the listeners about how we talk about the good, talk about the bad, we try to improve it, and also we talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's what we're doing today.
Yeah, fun fact about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that I reckon it mentions or sets up 9 Spider-Man villains.
Is it really 9 Spider-Man villains?
I reckon. Okay. Sorry, quick sidetrack here. Let's go through them. So obviously you get Electro, Rhino, Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Vulture.
Yeah.
Who else is in that vault?
Who else is? Well, Rhino's in it.
Rhino.
Oh, we already said Rhino.
Yeah. That's why I took that finger away.
Oh, but who else is in the vault?
Well, then they mentioned Lizard.
They mentioned Lizard.
There's
Black Cat.
There's clothing on a line which is supposed to be the Shocker's uniform, which is in one shot.
Oh,
that's 8. And then my 9th one is the person experimenting on Electro in whatever that place is called.
Yeah, who the heck is that?
That is the Chameleon.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. And also there's Norman Osborne, so that's 10 villains. The Lizard is mentioned, so that's 11 villains.
We already counted the Lizard.
Oh, did we? And then there's probably 2 more down in that vault. So it's probably about 12 villains in this movie.
God. Okay. Should I give a synopsis of this movie?
Yeah, go on, give us some synopsize this for me.
All right. So to catch up for people who haven't seen the movie or haven't seen the movie in a while, the movie starts off with like a chase scene where Peter gets in a bunch of car accidents, but it's also his graduation. Gwen gives a valedictorian speech, and it kind of sets up the movie for what's about to come because we get a little bit of some Paul, what's his name, Giamatti, right? That's how you say it?
Yeah, that's his name.
Some Rhino action. Peter almost misses his graduation, but he doesn't. And then afterwards, after the graduation, he breaks up with Gwen again. And it kind of goes as like a back and forth throughout the whole movie. And then we get during the chase sequence, as I mentioned, we get introduced to Max Dillon, who is Electro.
Don't you know I'm Electro?
And then we get a little bit more of some Peter going through his sad boy hours. We get some more of him going around as Spider-Man, and then Max Dillon, after being tormented by his boss and idolizing Spider-Man in a very, very, very strange little scene of Electro kind of showing little bits of schizophrenia almost. He gets shocked and falls into a pool of electric eels and then becomes Electro. And during all this, Harry Osborne comes back in town, meets his dad, Norman Osborn, who is dying of this deadly genetic disease. And Harry's also dying because of it. And then Electro goes to Times Square. Spider-Man saves the people in Times Square from Electro. And then before that, guys, this plot, there's so much going on. Before that, Gwen tells Peter that she is moving to England. And so Peter's in emotional turmoil once again. The Electro is put in prison by the chameleon who is doing tests on him. And then Harry meets with Peter, asks him, "Hey, can you get Spider-Man to give me blood?" Peter's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then Peter does go to Harry as Spider-Man and says, "No, you can't have my blood." Then Harry's very upset by this, which doesn't make sense, but we'll let it go. And then happens after that. Here, 1 second. Happens after that. Harry, very upset, pulls out his Samurai Jack moves and gets Electro out of prison. And then Harry uses Electro to like stop the people at Oscorp from taking over. And then he uses those people to give him this. How am I doing so far, Dean?
As good as you can with a movie like this.
And then because he found out all this super secret Oscorp stuff with like a glider and this armor, he finds a way to get down to the thing. He has one of the employees inject him with his serum. It goes horribly wrong. And then Electro now tries to take over the power grid, but Spidey stops him and blows him up. But then Green Goblin comes back and is like, "Yeah." And then he kills Gwen Stacy. And then Peter is sad.
Okay. Well, that was a wonderful plot summary of a complicated movie. Do you want to hear some trivia?
Yeah. Let me relax then.
Okay. This movie was filmed entirely in New York State, making it the largest movie ever to be filmed in the state at the time.
I feel like that's awfully unnecessary. They have the entire movie in New York. They didn't need it to be.
Maybe it was cheaper. I don't know.
I doubt it was cheaper
That's
for
true.
New York.
Unless they say it was filmed in New York State, like 90% of it was filmed just somewhere random upstate.
Maybe.
Emma Stone personally wrote Gwen's graduation speech.
Oh, that's cute.
Which is pretty cool when you consider like that's a big crux of like the finale of the movie, that speech.
Yeah, it's true.
And the dog that Gwen walks when Peter spies on her was adopted by Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. How cute is that?
It was. It's so cute.
Yeah. And Chris Cooper, who plays Norman Osborn, was considered for the role of Otto Octavius in Spider-Man 2. And I have the list of the 6 villains teased for the Sinister Six.
All right. Shoot him. List them off.
Doc Ock's tentacles.
Mm-hmm.
Rhino's armor.
Mm-hmm.
Vulture's wings.
Mm-hmm.
Craven's logo.
Oh, Craven.
I'm not sure how that works. Green Goblin's glider. That's a mouthful. And Mysterio's mask.
Oh, Mysterio's mask is in this?
Yeah, so that's 6 villains right there. And then you've also got Electro, 7. The Shocker, 8. And Black Cat, 9. Chameleon, 10. Norman Osborn. Yeah, we got the numbers right. 12, I reckon. Okay. Can you have any guess what the question I ask you every single week is?
What would Electro sound if he had a different accent?
Good guess. But no, it's do we do the good or do we do the bad first?
Oh, we do the good first.
Okay, thank you. I forget every week, and I don't know how I forget that. But do you want to start with some of your good? My good list is surprisingly pretty long.
My good list is it's medium. The Spider-Man swinging sequences.
Yeah.
They're so good.
100%. I reckon best of any Spider-Man movie in this one.
I don't agree, but it's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely. I think when it comes to the score of this movie, I don't think it's the best one. I think Spider-Man 1 and 2 and 3 definitely still are reigning champs, but it's definitely better
Yeah.
than the new ones.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
This
I
one,
really
I
like this
think
score.
the first one is good too, but this new one is at least the Spider-Man one, it's really good.
Okay. My first good is
Nice hat.
thanks. My hair was annoying me. I'm going to go with what to start with because I've just got lots of small things that I really appreciate. I like the opening with Spider-Man and the graduation ceremony and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Me
really
too.
enjoy all those elements. I think of like the cheesiness with the rhino. I think this scene here is a scene that like all the TikTok like film editors, if you know what I mean, those kind of posters, they always use clips from this to be the
Yeah,
quippy Spider-Man. And that's for good reason because this is like peak Peter quips.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I realized, so I have the suit on the good, right?
Yeah, so have I.
But I realized what bothers me about it.
Go on.
What bothers me about it is the texture of the red.
Interesting.
I don't like it.
Do you not?
Like the Spider-Man Lotus suit. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
I love the texture on that one. But whatever this one, it looks a slight bit Party City-esque.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan. I think it looks really cool, but that's what bothers me about it. Figured that out today.
Interesting. And another thing I have a good, which happens during the graduation scene, is although we'll talk more about this character later, I like it when Max first meets Spider-Man.
I do like. I think that is a really sweet moment.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the best his character is in the movie. Is
Yeah,
like,
I think like calling back to that moment later on in Times Square works to an extent as well.
Yes, I agree with you.
And speaking of Times Square, I put kind of a lot of that. I really love the slow-mo bit. I like a lot of the Times Square sequence.
Yes, the Times Square sequence, that one is done really well too.
Honestly, watching this movie, I really think the first maybe like 50 minutes, hour, I think is like a solid movie.
I think me too, but I think what the thing that the first hour 50 minutes struggles with is they have so much just set up for
Yeah.
the second half of the movie. Yeah,
I
like
feel like there's a lot of setup like right in the middle though as well. I think the most setup and where it's the most egregious is like right before you get to the finale.
yeah, it's like I feel like the movie, it may potentially like even at the end, I feel like it's so like it's all exposition almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is hard because this movie was like sort of, it almost seems like it was treated like was, exposition.
The other thing I had on my good is Spider-Man meeting the kid who shows up at the end.
The wind turbine, I put it as wind turbine scene.
Yeah, all those scenes like that, I think scenes like that is why Andrew is my favorite Spider-Man. He just muted himself. This was going to happen.
Okay.
But it's
Let's
sweet,
continue.
isn't it? It's cute. It's cute.
It is very cute. Aunt May and Peter, I really like their relationship in this movie.
Yeah, I think maybe my favorite scene is when Aunt May discovers the mystery board. And then she has a massive kind of thing about being like, oh, you don't need to learn about your parents because I'm your parent and I've looked after you and I don't know what to do with you and blah, blah, blah. I think that's an incredibly sweet moment. And it does go downhill when they start talking about his parents. But before that point, I really think it's a really sincere and
I also
great
like
moment.
that laundry scene.
The lawn, yeah. I think if we're talking about chemistry, I'm not talking about like the actual characters themselves, but I think this Peter and Aunt May have better chemistry than the other two.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one for sure.
Yeah. I think it's really genuine and it works really well.
And talking about chemistry, we can't mention Amazing Spider-Man 2 in chemistry without talking about Peter and Gwen. which I think
amazing stuff.
most of the time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But overall, I think they're handled really well.
Yeah, and they were also dating whilst filming, so there's some undeniable chemistry there.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. There's good chemistry because they actually, I assume, had an interest in each other at the time.
Yes, they did. I think one thing I don't think enough people talk about, but I actually really enjoyed is like the look of Electro.
It's interesting. I don't.
I dig it
I'm
because
not sure.
it's new, and
I
I'm not gonna
understand.
say like. What were you gonna say? Say it.
I understand
Come on,
why
say
they
it.
wanted to change it, but I don't know if I like the blue.
I kind of
What do you like the look? We got new No Way Home posters, and one for Electro. I think that look is really cool.
I think that look it's definitely better, like undeniably better.
Yeah.
But I think it was like a cool adaptation, and when I remember seeing it for the first time when I was like 14, 12.
However old we were when this movie came out. When did was it like 2014 this movie came out?
Yeah, 2014. Yeah. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. Like it was just like, well, I don't know what I was expecting, but that works.
Yeah.
And also another scene I really liked was like not the eel scene, but the birth of Electro when he like gets out of like his like cocoon almost.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty. I think that was done pretty well.
No, I like that as well. And I like this, like the suit. It's like not very long. It's probably like 15 seconds, but I like the suit up of the Green Goblin. Like the editing there when he's crawling along the floor and then like his suit comes onto him. I think that works really well.
Yeah. I put down Goblin transformation sequence down here too, because I think it's like I'm gonna try to stay away from my problems, but this movie's all over the place tone wise for me.
Yeah.
And that definitely is like one of the biggest divergences. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Because it's very. I'm tempted to say like almost like Sam Raimi-esque because it's very like intense.
It's like Doc Ock's arms killing the room.
Yeah. But I kind of dug it. Like it was gruesome, and like when you saw it, you're like, oh, and it made you feel how it wanted to make you feel, and I thought it was done really well.
It's interesting. So I've got a couple of small things before we get to the one I consider the big one. One of my favorite parts of this movie every time is when Peter goes that he's cleaning the chimney. And then Aunt May goes, "We don't have a chimney." And then he goes, "What? Are you about to tell me they do have a chimney?"
They do have a chimney. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2, there is a chimney in that house.
That's interesting.
In the video game.
Yeah. I just think it's a very funny moment. Just his reaction of going, "What?"
No, that is really funny. One little thing I put down is like the battery scene when he's like testing out the webbing.
Yeah.
That was funny. And then when he hits his head with the hammer, because he's trying to get his phone.
Yeah.
I laughed. That was funny.
Classic.
All right. Do you have any other little things, or is it time to get to the big one?
I like Peter's distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's funny, but alas, actually no. Here's one last thing. This movie tried a couple of concepts which I was a fan of. I just think they didn't deliver on. So I like the concept of a different like Goblin origin and starting with Harry. I think the idea of that works to like try and differentiate it from the Raimi trilogy and try something new. But I don't think in practice it actually worked.
Well, I have something to add to that for sure, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those when it comes to like comic book movies. I'm like, but that's not how it's supposed to happen. I'm just kind of like, oh, because this is an adaptation, they're doing things differently. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, and the other one, which I'm a fan of the concept of, is like adding more mystery and like intrigue around the disappearance of his parents. I like the idea of that.
Me too. I have kind of an undecided
Yeah.
category, and that whole thing is in there.
Because I like because it's not something, because it's definitely been a thing in the comics, like his parents being spies. I think they are in the comics, but not, to my memory, they haven't really explored it in any movie or TV show.
They have
apart
not.
from this one.
They definitely have not.
Which I like. I like the idea of them going, "Oh, where are his parents? What's up with that?"
Right.
It's a better idea than giving Aunt May a spy movie, which is what they were planning.
Yes, they were.
Okay. What do you think the big good thing is?
The big good thing, I think, is the final battle sequence between Electro and Green Goblin. Like that whole set piece.
Interesting. That isn't what I was. Well, I was going to be more narrow than that.
Well, I feel like that. I mean, the Electro one is done also really well.
The Electro one's good. I was going to go specifically with the death of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah. That one, I think, is. I would go to say, like, although this is definitely, well, this might be this. I don't know.
What are you going to say?
This is definitely at least top 3 best deaths done in a Spider-Man movie.
I can't think of any better. I think that's the best one.
Well, the 2 others that
Are you
I'm
going to
considering.
go Doc Ock?
No, not Doc Ock. I'm going to go with the death of Harry Osborne.
Yeah.
That one always gets me emotional. And I'm kind of counting the death of Tony Stark when it comes to Peter's reaction.
Yeah, that's not really in the...
Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying the death of Tony Stark's better than this one? Like, from Spider-Man perspective, not as a whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because I definitely would not agree.
Well, it's okay. You can have wrong opinions.
I think it's really, I think it's the best death in any of these, and I think it's done really well, and it's really sad, and the way like time slows down and then speeds back up and slows down again, and you get to like watch the entire moment from start to finish. And I remember watching this in the cinema, and I was like shocked. And watching this now, I was kind of like, in a way, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and I think that works to its advantage. Where
Yeah,
obviously we all
does.
know that's what happens in this movie, but it happens, and you're like, oh, they're actually doing that, and I love that. It's a big risk to take.
It was a very big risk.
Can you imagine if they did that in the Raimi trilogy with MJ? Because they never would have.
They never would have. That's true.
And I just really appreciate, like, it's a big, and they're never going to do it with Zendaya either.
No,
not
they
for
might.
a long, not maybe. Yeah, if he gets like 6 movies in, I can see it happening. No way is it happening.
This one is better than Tony's, but I still love the Harry one though.
Fair enough. I might upset you with no. Okay, should we move on to the bad?
No, I want to go through some of my undecided first.
I'll decide for you. Quick fire round.
The whole parent subplot.
Good in concept, but badly executed.
I think if it like focused maybe on Electro in this, it would be fine.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely just too much.
Yeah, and I think it would have worked if they kind of tied it into everything else that was going on.
Right, but it seems so out of place.
Because it's kind of just, it's not linked to the main characters at all, really.
Right, and if they kept like his dad coming back in the end, which was supposed to happen,
that scene is amazing as well.
It would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
That deleted scene is so good.
It's so good. But I find it so strange because the movie was overstuffed already. It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. But I think that would have been a really good end credit scene. Because the end credit scenes in this was one that isn't on the DVDs or anything like that. Is a clip from Days of Future Past.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is like more on the Sinister Six.
Right. with
So I
like
think
Harry.
that as an end credit scene would have been beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm not it. I'm just sad that wasn't included because I thought that would have made everything a lot more whole, at least in that, but it would have made it more soft. So it's like a give and take kind of a thing. Another thing, the itsy bitsy spider whole thing.
I quite like that, I think.
I honestly can't decide whether it's funny or if it's just like dumb.
It's interesting.
Like I can't choose.
Yeah. I think it works well because they might make light of it a bit when Andrew goes, "Oh, I hate that song."
Right. So it's
I
definitely
think,
like, yeah.
I think that element makes it work for me.
Black Cat.
Just nothing really.
I'm like, why was it even necessary?
Like she didn't need
No.
to have that name, and for me, it doesn't improve or ruin the movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's why I'm just like put it undecided because
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about it.
Like
Goblins look.
Oh, that's a tricky one.
I
I
don't
think
know
out of the
how to
three
feel
villains
about
in
it.
this movie, he looks the best.
I don't know. I like because on one hand I think it's cool, and other hand I'm like, oh, this is like, I guess yes, it is the best because it's very disturbing, and that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll give it the best. So thank you. You helped me get decided. And last one, Aunt May nurse subplot.
Just neat. Yeah, it's an. I think it works as kind of a background detail. But I would have. But you just can't focus on it anymore. But also, like, I enjoy the inclusion of it. I think.
Okay, me too. Because like the only part where like bothered me a little bit was like at the very end when it like went to her for a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. That's a bit annoying.
Because it just kind of interrupted the flow of what was happening.
No, you're right. That's I'd cut that bit.
All right. Are we getting into the bad now?
Yeah, go on. Start us off.
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti. Yeah.
Did I say it wrong?
No, you did. No, I was agreeing with you.
Oh.
Just all of it?
Just all of it.
Fair enough.
I don't like him in it.
Yeah, I don't like the rhino design at the end either because it doesn't look like an animal.
It doesn't look like a rhino, really.
You need to kind of commit to the look, I think.
But
like I'm happy with a robot suit rhino instead of just a big guy.
The look is stupid.
But it looks kind of like too top heavy. Like I feel like I would be able to push that over if I got close enough. Like it's got such skinny little legs, I could push it over.
Yeah. It's just a little boop.
I'm gonna Google a picture of it now just so I can.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, no, doesn't work.
If I'm correct, Kevin Feige gave like his 2 cents for this movie before it came out, and he said that they should cut this bit.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him.
I think it works well for the kind of overall narrative thing of being like, this Spider-Man stopped being Spider-Man stopped being Spider-Man.
Yeah. Like that's
and I think it worked out like that kid coming out. I kind of like that element of it.
That's true. But like besides that. And another thing that I'm gonna touch on after that one bit of Max Steel in the very beginning, everything else.
Yeah.
Like that one crazy scene where he's talking with the cake.
Yeah, I kind of like him meeting Gwen Stacy, but I think that's about it.
Oh yeah, that's good too. But
and
like
Times
he's
Square,
just
like we said, I think Times Square and the opening is the only good bits of him.
Yeah, well, I'm talking like Max Dillon, like before Electro.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah.
And the electric eel, it being electric eels.
Yeah.
That's dumb. And then his electricity fixing the gap in his teeth.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
It's always, I like that thing. I have put, onto the bad. I put Harry Osborne.
Yeah, I put Harry and Peter's like chemistry.
I think it works in the hallway when he comes out of the meeting.
Yes, that
I
works.
think that's all right. And then from then on, it's a bit downhill because he's just a bit unhinged and all over the place.
Yeah, and I don't really like Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborne.
No. I liked him as the Green Goblin, but I didn't like him as Harry Osborne.
And there's just one bit.
This
isn't like an overall movie thing, but there's just this one scene when Andrew Garfield is throwing rocks, where his American accent is god awful. Like it literally sounds like he's like doing like a cheesy New York accent from like a 20s era musical.
Yeah. I've seen the clips of people complaining about this.
And his accent sounds like better now, like looking like Tick Tick Boom. It's really
that's
good.
A good accent. Another New Yorker.
But it was just really funny. Like I forgot about that, and I was when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh yeah, that's that was bad. But it's nothing like really to complain about because like I don't know, Mary Poppins is a huge movie that everybody loves, and Dick Van Dyke's accent that is terrible.
I think that is the worst accent ever put in a movie.
Ever. Well, it's kind of awesome though.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Dick Van Dyke thinks that like his most popular role is his worst one.
That is interesting.
And I'm like, what other actors have that, you know? Anyway, the obvious one, Sinister Six, all that kind of stuff.
Overstuffing.
Yeah. And another one, because I don't think we need to elaborate on that anymore, is that this movie just does not end. There's like 3 or 4 points where I think this movie could comfortably go, oh, that's the finale. Even like, I even felt when they defeated Electro, in my mind, I was like, you could like end the movie here and it would be a satisfying ending. And I'm not saying I don't like the bit that comes afterwards. But like, if you cut Harry Osborne out of that movie entirely, I wouldn't be sitting there like, oh, this movie felt like it weirded on a bit of an end note. I think that ended on a bit of a weird note. I think that would work as an ending. I think as soon like Gwen dying would work as an ending. And then I think, and then it goes on to Rhino and you're like, why, what is happening? What is all of this?
And then it ends like in such a weird place.
Yeah,
I don't know why they decided to choose that.
they did. It's weird. Overall, not great ending. I've put Ravencroft as a bad thing. Somehow the Ravencroft in Venom 2 is better than this, and that Ravencroft wasn't particularly great.
Funny how they do that, isn't it? I don't like the scientist dude, the guy that's supposed to be the chameleon. He kind of he doesn't fit the tone of the movie.
Is a bit of a weird one.
What is the tone of the movie? I don't know.
Good one.
Here I got one.
I think that's all my bad. Okay, I've got one more, so go ahead.
The montage of Peter with like the like with the red tape and stuff.
Yeah.
That was fine, but the music they chose for that, it was like this like
it was
it was like I'm gonna make this place your home.
That's it.
And I felt like it would have been so much cooler if it was like the like spy music and like the amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. That it seemed way too like peppy and happy. This is like an intense scene. I don't know. That's just me though.
I'm gonna complain. I'm gonna do something I will rarely do, and that's complain about Gwen Stacy and Spider-Man in this dilogy. And that's it annoys me that they just break up right at the start of the movie. For number one, it annoys me because like it's a big point to end the first movie on. The first movie ends with like Peter being like, "Oh, the best kind of promises are the ones that we break." We watched this 2 weeks ago, so we're doing
we're caught up.
And then I remember watching this movie and I was like so annoyed at that point the first time I watched it. And I'm
right.
And the thing is, it really amounts to nothing. There's no reason why they had to break up then.
Because they get back together with like 5 minutes later.
Exactly. And I like that scene. I really like the scene of them talking about like the ground rules.
Yes.
I think that's cute and it's funny. But why do they break up? Like, what is the purpose of it in the movie?
If anything, they could have had that ground rules scene without them breaking up, and it would have made sense.
Yeah. Just honestly, it's such a weird thing for me because they go, okay, we ended the last movie. The last thing you see in the last movie is them getting back together, and it really feels like in this movie they just go, okay, at the start of this movie we need them to be broken up. How can we get to that point as quickly as possible? Let's do that. Get to that point as quickly as possible, and then 20 minutes later they're back together again.
Like they literally could have gone like they could have made a thing of like Gwen Stacy being like, "You said like you won't keep the promise. Why haven't you kept like something like that?"
Yeah.
I don't know.
And yeah, maybe this isn't a complaint or a compliment. This is an observation. I don't know specifically what it is, but Andrew Garfield can definitely get away with doing creepier things than Tobey Maguire can.
Yes, he definitely can.
Because I don't mind. I don't find it weird at all that he was like watching Gwen as they went around or something. But if in those movies, if in the Raimi trilogy, if in one of the many points in those movies that Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst are broken up, then if he was watching her from a distance, I'd be like, you are such a creep, Pete.
Yeah, that would have been weird. And Tobey Maguire isn't as charismatic as Andrew Garfield, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's because he seemed quite sweet when he was doing it. I think I felt sorry for him. I was like, oh, come on, mate.
One thing I forgot to mention while we were crapping on Harry is how does he know Spider-Man can self-heal?
Yeah, I think he's just made the assumption that the spiders that bit him, they were like, oh, those spiders can self-heal, I think.
And then it goes into this other point of what Peter has no reason not to give him his blood.
Yeah. And I feel like they try to compensate. They try to like explain this within the movie by having Gwen agree with Peter about it.
Right. But like, if we're thinking logically here, but Peter says no to Harry before he knows that, like, the spiders are specifically coded to his DNA.
Yeah. That's good.
Like
True. If you brought that up later.
Yeah. If they would have had that scene and then would have said that, that would have made way more sense.
Oh, I just came up with a pitch. Okay, I'm gonna write this down now.
Okay, you do that. I'll keep on talking.
Although I don't know what in this movie we're keeping and what we're getting rid of.
And especially when Harry talks to Peter first before talking to Spider-Man, Peter's like, I don't know. I don't think I can do that. Why doesn't he say like, I'll do my best and then like bro it out? Like he doesn't need to say no right there. He's not the one who has to give him blood. Spider-Man's the one who has to give him blood. Sorry, I was like screaming at the screen during that.
No, it's true. I do. Okay, here's one thing. So there's the plot point that so the entire city of New York works on this Oscorp grid now.
Yes.
And that Max Dillon basically designed it and they stole the design off him.
Yes.
This plot point is barely mentioned in the movie.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's quite an interesting element to this character. That's an interesting element to the finale. And it's mentioned maybe twice, 3 times if you count the finale. I think this is mentioned 3 times in the movie at a glance, where he kind of goes, oh, I think that maybe you use these designs on your power grid. And then Ryan from The Office goes, okay. And then that's the end of that.
There was a lot of missed opportunities for that character to make him more interesting.
Yeah.
I feel.
Oh, okay. Any more complaints?
Don't you know I'm Electro?
Yeah, don't you know? And also, yeah, so he goes, don't you know I'm Electro? And then Rhino has a dodgy moment when he goes, I'm the Rhino.
And then, you're a fraud, Spider-Man.
Yeah. They're the 3 villains' weakest moments.
Yeah. And what that kind of, it works in the Tobey Maguire movies because the Tobey Maguire movies are cheesy as hell. So you don't even like think about it. You're like, well, it's the Raimi trilogy. Of course, I said something like that. But this one, it's like relatively grounded in realism.
Yeah.
So when they say those things, it's just like, oh, that was so dumb.
Okay, my question for you: in No Way Home,
Yes.
this is off topic. Do you think they're going to have the cheesy Raimi dialogue for Tobey Maguire specifically, or do you think he's going to go MCU quipping?
A mixture of both.
Do you think?
I feel like the dialogue in the Raimi trilogy, just like in general, definitely has a specific style.
Yeah.
And I don't think that will be carried over. But like if Spider-Man like runs up to Sandman and goes like, here's your change, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I feel like they'll do callbacks, but they're not going to introduce any new cheesy lines. Do you know what I mean?
Here's the thing. I don't think they're going to have much time to
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like they're going to be a good like half hour of this. It's a long movie, so I reckon they'll be in a good like 40 minutes or so.
That would make me so happy.
I honestly, that's what I think. If the movie's that long, 40 minutes, fine for both of them.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
For the Spider-Man premiere, this is very off topic. It'll be quick. I promise. For the Spider-Man premiere, I have two outfits. I'm planning on wearing. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
So the first one is a Marvel shirt with like the sleeves cut off, so I can show off my Spider-Man tattoo.
Yeah.
Or I wear my Tobey Maguire like suit that I wore for one promo.
Oh. I feel like Marvel shirt.
Marvel shirt? Okay.
I don't know. It's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one.
I had another No Way Home question. We've got to excite you. There is one episode of HD Movie Talk in between this episode and the No Way Home episode.
I know. Be off the chain.
Imagine if it's crap. I would love that. I wouldn't.
That would be actually really funny.
Yeah.
Like if it just sucked. Oh my god, that would laugh so hard.
But people would not admit it.
Oh no.
It would be like the prequels where in 10 years people would look back and go, that movie's actually kind of not very good, is it?
Well, here's the thing. If Tobey Maguire's in it, there's no way I'm coming out of that movie theater and going like, that was all right. I'm going to praise the ever-living crap out of that movie, no matter if it's good or
okay,
not.
but I feel like the way you were going that sense there, do you not think if they're like, oh, Tobey Maguire's in it, do you not think that means you're either going to really, really going to like it or you're going to really dislike it because they're going to like do something terrible with that character?
Nope. Honestly, I can without a doubt say that like as long as Tobey Maguire comes back as any version of Spider-Man, like any way at all, I'm going to be more than happy.
Okay, fair enough. Should we get to improving this?
Yes.
I think the big question, every time we've talked about a bad superhero movie, which has been Fantastic, Spider-Man 3, X-Men Origins, and this, I feel like we always... Pardon?
X-Men Origins?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I missed the first class with Origins.
Oh,
my bad.
So I think we start with the same question every time, and it's a very sensible question. What should we do about the villains?
What should we do about the villains? Well, Rhino's gone because we don't need him.
Yeah.
Rhino, that is really just like he's just a plot device. He has no development whatsoever.
Yeah.
But what do we do?
It's a tricky one because they both have their merits.
I think...
Could we keep both of them? That's the real question here. Because the thing is, Electro has cool moments, and if you go just Green Goblin, the movie's not going to work amazingly unless you introduce the Green Goblin a lot later, because obviously he doesn't suit up until the final act of the movie. So what action is there going to be leading up to that point? But then if it's just Electro, then what's the big finale going to be? And like, what's the emotional core of this movie? It's just going to be this lightning guy who, I feel like you'd go Green Goblin, to be honest.
I would go Green Goblin, because you can't forget you also have that incredibly complicated arc of the Peter's parents.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
so we saying we get rid of Electro. I don't know. Could you do both?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because
do you want to hear my pitch of how we do the Green Goblin better?
yes.
So number one, I think obviously we'd have to introduce him a lot earlier on into the movie because you need action somewhere in the middle there.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd lose that if you get rid of Electro. So I think earlier on in the movie, Harry goes to Peter for blood. And Peter goes, yeah, I'll see what I'll do. I'll go talk to Spider-Man. Gives the blood to Harry. And then later on, he has this whole same thing with his parents, and he has that great conversation with Aunt May. And then he goes down into the train station and he watches the video and he's like, shit, I just gave Harry my blood. And he rushes out the train station, rushes to the other side of New York, gets there, and Harry has just injected himself with the blood. And then he becomes Green Goblin and escapes somehow.
Okay. Here's an idea.
Go on.
What if, like, Harry gets Peter's blood, just injects it right away.
Yeah.
He gets stronger, or whatever, but he's not strong enough to take down Spider-Man. So Peter like sedates him, like gets him down or whatever. Peter wins. Like let's say this is like the second act, like fight.
the Times Square fight.
Yeah, something like that. And then, but it doesn't cure him either. Like he still has to fight this disease, Harry. And the third act, Harry in like he tries to duplicate the blood, but it makes it more of a concentrated dose somehow.
Yeah.
But that's what gives him the Goblin. Like that's what makes it like significantly worse, and what gives him the appearance at the end of the final act.
Yeah, that works. And then how are we tying the parents into this more?
Well, I think
I think you just need to do something.
Yeah, like what more can you add to that?
I just think you need to link Harry Osborne with that plot more.
Yeah, because Harry Osborne really doesn't work. Maybe Harry Osborne doesn't die, or maybe Harry Osborne doesn't.
Yeah, maybe Norman Osborn isn't dead yet.
Oh, yeah, Norman Osborn.
Maybe let's say he's in a coma, and then they go, okay, Harry, you're now like in charge of the company because whatever. And then Norman wakes up, and what if Norman? Okay, here's my pitch. So Peter goes and meets Harry because he hears that his dad died on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
What if Peter goes to meet Harry because Norman on his deathbed goes, someone come go bring me Peter Parker? And that's when you get a little more exposition about the dad. And then maybe Harry gets jealous because like, oh, my dad never liked me and now he's wanting to talk to you on his deathbed instead of talking to me. And then that's what sends Peter down the line of trying to find out more about his parents. Then he has the conversation with Aunt May. Then he goes into the subway.
I'm thinking, okay, so my idea maybe is Norman, because Harry mentions the spiders to Peter.
Yeah.
Maybe Norman tells Harry about the spiders. He's like, that Spider-Man that came from my lab. I know it did.
Yeah.
But like, because I feel like Norman's saying like, bring Peter Parker. Maybe he didn't say bring Peter Parker, but like he sees like documents on him and like pictures of him in his dad's room. And that's what gets him pissed off. saying that Norman is more like concerned about Peter than him, which makes sense because I don't know if you noticed it or know about this, but in this Amazing Spider-Man 2 trailer, there's like a bit where like Harry like shows like that they've been following Peter and like and I think that might be interesting to use something like that where Harry's like, we know that like, and this is something that I never thought about until I was watching the movie. Did they seriously not have security cameras in those like with like the spider base or whatever? Like, wouldn't it be interesting if like
and like not only that, but then Peter's favorite pastime is walking around Oscorp and doing silly little things. So surely when he escapes with Gwen Stacy, they just look at the footage of that and they go, "Oh, that's that guy just shot a web at that guy's coffee mug and
it's
helped
definitely
Gwen
Spider-Man."
Stacy escape."
So I'm trying to think when's the best time for Harry to get mad at Peter compared to the best time where Harry asks Peter for his blood?
I think the second. Okay, so I reckon he asked for the blood. Spider-Man's Peter Parker's like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. Spider-Man meets Harry, and then the scene after that, Harry is annoyed with Peter, I think. It's a tricky one.
Well, how about let's try this. Tell me how you feel about this. So, Spider-Man gives Harry his blood, and then Harry goes to his dead dad's room for like to try the blood to like, cause like he's in his dad's room. He's like, I'm gonna cure myself, and
he's gonna cure his dad first, and then.
Well, is his dad still alive or is his dad dead?
Good point. Continue.
Let's say, for right now, with what I'm saying, his dad's dead. And when he's about to inject the blood, he sees pictures of, or when he's injecting the blood, he sees things of Peter and gets pissed off. And then like maybe like shows up to Aunt May's house and is like, where's Peter? And then like
maybe shows up at the Stacy's at some point. Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky because there's so much going on in this movie. But it's all like interlinked. You can't just get rid of one thing and be like, oh yeah, this works now.
Yeah, because everything's interlinked, that's for sure.
Apart from the parents.
Or maybe how about this happens. He injects some blood, sees pictures of Harry, sees pictures of Peter. Harry calls up Peter and is like, what were you doing with my dad? And then Peter's like, what are you talking about? I never talked to your dad. And as he's saying this, like that's when like his like first transformation kind of starts to happen. And he like starts screaming and like drops the phone. And then Peter's like, Harry, and then rushes over
there. And then there's a nice old fight.
Yeah.
But how does this fight work dynamically when it is just he doesn't have any of the tech and it's just him being like, because you kind of want it on a larger scale.
Well, it could like kind of destroy some of the Oscorp building or like the building that Harry is in. We can have some destruction there. But like as I said, like Harry would just be like stronger.
Yeah.
Like not Spider-Man, but like the Goblin disease kind of amplifies it, and he's a little bit like looks weird and like misshapen. But you can just tell he's stronger. Maybe like his muscles get bigger or like something like that.
I think you can do the same thing with later on in the movie after this fight, he gets kicked out of the company and everything. And then maybe he breaks back into the company to steal like the glider and the bombs. Yeah,
and maybe he's able to do that because he still has that cube that his dad gave him.
Yeah.
And then the final sequence is, oh crap! Then we're doing that damsel in distress thing.
I think you can. Hmm.
Because
No,
the
it
whole
works better if like he goes, okay, I'm like maybe the Green Goblin is robbing the Oscorp Tower at this very time, and he's like killing the staff and everything. So Peter rushes over that, and you get the same moment of him being like, "Oh, I don't know how I can use my webbing or whatever." Just create a problem like that, which Gwen then solves. And then there's the same moment of Gwen being like, "Oh, I'm going to come with you and help because I know Oscorp Tower. I know my way around there. I can help you out a lot." And then Peter goes, "No, webs are up like he did there." And then Gwen rushes over because I think the element we get in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, where Gwen shows up at the final battle, is a good kind of twist on the damsel in distress thing. And I think by still including that, it would work. If Peter's like, "I'm going to go stop him," and Gwen's like, "No, I'm coming
yeah.
as well."
So, okay, I think we got this figured out.
Well, one thing: does his dad return at the end?
Yes, because we have time.
Good. Okay, go ahead. Go take us through our movie.
Okay. So the movie starts out how it did. There's like this chase sequence without Rhino, as you know, great. I mean, as
Maybe
Gwen
you can just do
Stacy's.
the shocker or something.
Yeah, it's nothing over the top like Rhino was. It can still be Paul Giamatti for all we care, but just not like crazy. Um, as Gwen Stacy is giving her valedictorian speech, but then very quickly after that, oh wait, we didn't even touch on the whole will they, won't they?
Just get rid of it.
Just get rid of it. Did they get back together, or they?
Yeah, they're back together as a couple, and they just have cute couple scenes throughout.
Okay, cute couple scenes.
And then the conflict is, I'm going to London, and that's the conflict in the relationship.
Yes. Okay, cool. And then Harry comes back, and when he comes back, his dad's like, "There's this Spider-Man guy. He definitely, has a bit of Oscorp in him, and I don't know how." And he's like, okay. Then Peter comes back. He's
He
like, "Hey,
tells him
Harry."
about the virus and everything then as well.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Along with that, is that too much exposition? We can make it interesting with flashbacks, so it's okay. And then Harry and Peter meet up, basically the same way they did in the movie. And then we get some of Peter, trying to piece together his dad's death and like his parents disappearing. And then we get the scene where like Harry's like, "Yo, I need you to get Spider-Man's blood from me. Like, please."
Yeah. Morbius
And then
style.
Morbius style. Yeah, Jared Leto style. Your favorite.
I've got, okay. Yeah, no, continue. I was about to sidetrack us.
And then we get some more cute couple scenes between Gwen Stacy and him. And then finally Spider-Man comes back, gives Harry the blood. And it brings that. And as Harry takes the blood, sorry, my mom is home. As he takes the blood,
What if we say it's like that's when Peter is on like the train?
sure, yeah, that's just Peter's on the train learning everything.
Yeah, and
he's
then
like,
he
"Oh
goes,
shoot,
"Oh no, yeah."
what did I do?" And then as Harry's taking the blood, he sees a picture of Peter and then calls him. He sees a picture of Peter in his dad's room.
Yeah,
So
and
he's
then
like,
he gets annoyed because his phone starts ringing and it's Peter, and Peter's like, "Don't take the blood."
Yeah, right on. So then that happens, and he's like, "What were you doing with my father?" And then he starts like screaming because his body's changing. And then Peter's like, "Ruh-roh," comes over, big second act fight sequence. And then Harry's kicked out of Osborne. Peter feels bad, learns more about his family. Does he learn anything? What else happens?
You can get the whole Gwen London thing in then.
Oh yeah, that's when you get the whole Gwen London thing in. And then Harry Osborne breaks into Oscorp, takes the suit.
Meanwhile, it's the bit on the bridge when he writes "I love you."
Yeah, why not? During all this, Harry breaks into Oscorp. He gets a more concentrated solution of the blood. Maybe like from little droplets he had, he makes it just like Gwen Stacy made the
Lizard cure.
lizard cure. And he does that, but it only makes his situation worse, amplifies all of his least favorite qualities, whatever, blah, 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 blah. He becomes a Green Goblin. We see at the end of the movie. Peter's like, oh no. Gwen Stacy's like, I'll come with. And Peter's like, don't. He starts fighting the Goblin. Guess who comes back?
Who?
Gwen Stacy. And then Gwen Stacy is captured by the Green Goblin.
Maybe Gwen does something to really help first. Like she gets onto an Oscorp panel and does something. Like maybe she evacuates the building. Like she opens up. The Green Goblin's locked all the doors and all the employees are stuck in there. And Peter's
Maybe
like,
can she like deactivate all the weapons? Like once he gets the glider, she like deactivates the bombs and like missiles and stuff.
Yeah, and then he looks and grabs her and
right. Yeah. And that works.
And then they leave the Oscorp tower and they go to a nice picturesque clock tower to kill her.
Yeah.
Because you want those cool visuals.
And then at the end, we have Peter's dad come back.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We're so good at this.
We've done this 9 times. And
what's our best one? I think the Ghostbusters one is still our best one.
I think that was so good. And I was watching Ghostbusters Afterlife and I was like, our movie's better than this.
Yeah, that was a good one. We're so
this
smart.
Is really good as well, to be fair.
Yeah. We should I wonder
the worst one's probably Holmes and Watson, but what on earth do you do there, mate?
Yeah, you just gotta change the movie entirely.
Oh yeah, sorry, we need to do our returning segment of The Silver Lining. Every time we do it, we go, is this movie worse than Holmes and Watson? 3, 2, 1. No. I liked this more than I thought I would. You know
what it was missing though?
What?
It was missing.
Actually, no, I know what it was missing. So obviously Paul Giamatti, you can tell by that, and an Italian name. But for some reason, they just gave him a Russian accent.
Yeah, why don't you just go all the way with that one?
Actually, okay, if we're doing this, I'm going to go on to the tangent I nearly took us on earlier on. I watched House of Gucci today.
Oh, me too. I saw it a couple days ago.
What did you? Me and my friend were literally laughing in the cinema at Jared Leto.
He was awesome.
It was so bad.
I loved him in it. I thought he was actually like...
But how much of that was intentional? Because I honestly cannot tell.
Okay, we need to save this for later.
Yeah, but anyway, go on. Give me your impression of Jared Leto in that movie.
Jared Leto or Paul Giamatti?
Jared Leto in House of Gucci. The trick is to start every sentence twice. He goes, well, you got my pictures. Ah! Do elephants shit in the jungle? No, they don't, because elephants don't live in jungles.
I loved him in that movie.
I did not. I really did not.
All right, what do you give this movie out of 10? Okay,
so the original movie.
Yeah, the original.
4.
Really?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
I would give it a 6 out of 10.
Really? I went low because I thought you were going to get annoyed with me, so I'm going to bump that up to a 5. I'll go 5 out of 10.
Like, it sucks, but it's still a good movie.
Honestly, you're going to be annoyed with me for this, but off the top of my head, I can't decide which one I prefer out of this and Spider-Man 3.
I prefer Spider-Man. You need to rewatch Spider-Man 3.
We watched it like a month or 2 ago.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, sidetrack here. If we're talking about Spider-Man 3, these movies have all the same issues. But for me, this one has more charm because I prefer Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone.
Well, I prefer Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, I know. And also Sandman's a great villain. This is not important. What would you rate the movie that we made?
Movie that we made, I gave it a 6. I would give the movie we made like an 8 out of 10.
I was gonna go 9, I think, just because imagine how good that Gwen Stacy death is.
Yeah.
And the dad coming back, it would work so well, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's setting up a sequel in a good way."
Yeah. God, we're so smart.
And on that amazing note,
Adios, everybody.
I should have seen that coming. And yeah, I guess we'll just see you next week. Thanks for listening. And goodbye, I suppose.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.